They called it a job nobody could survive. Personal assistant to Kwon Ryunse, the paralyzed leader of Seoul's most feared syndicate, a man so cold that 14 assistants had fled his estate before finishing a single shift. One lasted 90 minutes. One made it 3 days before vanishing without a word. The agencies stopped sending their best people after the 9th resignation. Now they sent whoever was desperate enough to say yes. The papers called him the Biko boss, a name spoken in Seoul like a warning. But Kalani Rhodes wasn't listening to warnings. She was listening to the number in her bank account. 5 days before her son's mixed treatment was due, and no way to pay for it. So when they told her nobody lasted a day working for Ryunse, she heard something else. An opening nobody else wanted badly enough to take. She had no idea she was walking into a war. And she had no idea she was about to fall in love with the man everyone else was too afraid to stay near. Kwon Ryunse sat by the window in his wheelchair, watching the 14th assistant's car disappear down the drive. His face showed nothing, no anger, no disappointment. Secretary Han cleared his throat. The agency says they're running out of candidates. Then find a new agency. We've tried 6. They all say the same thing. Your reputation is becoming a problem. My reputation was a problem before the accident. Ryunse turned his chair slowly. This changes nothing. With respect, sir, it changes everything. The board meets in 3 weeks. Your cousin is already telling them you're unfit to lead. If you walk in without proper support, without proof you're managing your condition, I don't need to prove anything. The board needs to see it. Perception matters. Ryunse's jaw tightened. He hated that Han was right. 6 months ago he could have silenced every doubt by walking into that room. Now there were only whispers, pitying looks, relatives suddenly very interested in helping. He knew exactly what they wanted. Find someone, he said finally. I don't care who, just find someone who doesn't quit before lunch. Across the city, Kalani Rhodes was counting hours instead of hours slept. Rent was due in 5 days. Her son Micah's hospital bill was 2 weeks overdue. Her phone buzzed with payment reminders she'd stopped opening because the numbers made her chest tight. She stood outside the diner where she worked nights, checking her schedule on a cracked screen. Morning shift at the coffee cart. Afternoon cleaning offices. Night shift here, sleep somewhere in the cracks between. Mama. Micah ran toward her, backpack bouncing, her neighbor Mrs. Adami trailing behind with an apologetic smile. I know you have work, Mrs. Adami said, but he wanted to see you first. Kalani knelt and pulled her son into a hug, 9 years old and already too smart to be fooled by her tired smile. When will we eat dinner together again? Micah asked. Soon, baby. They both knew it. Later, Mrs. Adami pulled her aside. I heard about a job, live-in personal assistant, wealthy family, good pay, a signing bonus just for staying a month. Kalani almost said no. Life didn't hand out favors to single mothers like her. Then her phone buzzed again. Another reminder. Give me the number, she said. The agency office smelled like burnt coffee. The woman behind the desk looked like she'd had this conversation too many times. I'll be honest, Miss Rhodes. This position has high turnover. How high? 14 assistants in 6 months. Kalani blinked. That's more than 2 a month. The client is demanding. Long hours, strict rules, difficult personality. Difficult how? The woman hesitated. Private, particular, doesn't tolerate mistakes. There's media attention too. Some people find it overwhelming. The client is Kwon Ryunse, she added, head of the Biko group. He was in an accident. He uses a wheelchair now. Kalani had heard the name, mostly from headlines she'd glimpsed while cleaning office buildings. The papers called him a mafia boss, though nobody ever printed proof of it. When can I start? The mansion was a fortress dressed as a home. Ramps at every entrance, furniture spaced wide for a chair to pass, guards who didn't bother pretending to be gardeners. Ryunse didn't look up from his tablet when she entered his office. You know 14 people quit this job, he said. What makes you think you'll be different? I don't know. I haven't started yet. Something shifted behind his eyes. Not quite a smile. Why did the others really quit? Because if the job's impossible, I'd rather know now than waste both our time. For the first time, Ryunse almost smiled. She starts tomorrow, he told Han. 6 a.m. Don't be late. Kalani arrived at 5:45, bag packed for a week she hoped would become a month. By noon, 3 crises had already hit. A reporter got Ryunse's private number, fishing for comments on his health. Kalani took the phone, redirected him to the communications office, and blocked the number before he could call back twice. Then legal documents arrived for signature, except they were the wrong file entirely. She called the firm, got transferred 4 times, and had the correct papers couriered before the deadline. Then the housekeeper got sick and went home, leaving no one to cook. Kalani found the kitchen and made the simplest thing she knew: rice, grilled chicken, vegetables, and brought it to his desk at exactly 1 o'clock. Ryunse stared at the plate. I didn't ask you to cook. Delivery takes 40 minutes. Your medication needs food at 1:30. Late lunch means late meds, and that throws off your whole afternoon. He tasted it. It's bland. You're on a therapeutic diet. Bland's the point. You're opinionated for someone who's been here 8 hours. You hired me to help you. He almost smiled again. The others never talked back. Pretending to be someone else gets exhausting. By 9 that night, Kalani had answered 60 emails, fielded 17 calls, and prevented 2 disasters. She collapsed on her bed, phone buzzing, a video call from Micah. I miss you, Mama. I miss you too. This job means we get our own place soon, a better one. After the call, a knock. Secretary Han holding an envelope. First week's advance. You lasted longer than the last 3 combined. That's worth something. Inside was enough to cover Micah's bill and this month's rent. Maybe she could actually survive this. 1 week became 3. The staff stopped placing bets on when Kalani would quit. He hasn't shouted in 3 days, the housekeeper said one morning. Might be a record. He shouted at the board about the quarterlies yesterday. That's business shouting. I mean shouting at the world for being unfair. He's calmer with you. At breakfast, Ryunse reviewed his tablet without looking up. Board meetings in 2 weeks. My cousin's telling them my condition makes me unfit to lead. You've attended every meeting remotely, Kalani said. Approved every major decision. Stocks up 7% since you took over the merger talks. Those are facts. The board doesn't care about facts. They care about perception. Then we fix the perception. You walk in prepared in person and make them see competence instead of a diagnosis. Ryunse studied her for a long moment. You've been thinking about this. It's my job to think about your priorities. This meeting is one. Start compiling the reports, he said. We'll make my cousin's concern look like exactly what it is. A power grab. As she cleared his plate, their hands brushed. Both pulled back at once. It meant nothing, Kalani told herself. It didn't feel like nothing. 3 days later, Kalani found a folder she'd locked in the cabinet the night before sitting open on the desk. 3 pages missing. Did you take documents from the Kim file? She asked. No. Ryunse's expression darkened. Those were confidential negotiation terms. If they leak, the merger collapses. Only Yuhan and the cleaning staff have access. My cousin visited yesterday evening. The next morning, an anonymous email landed in Kalani's inbox. A formal complaint claiming she'd photographed confidential files and leaked them to competitors. Completely false. She forwarded it immediately. Han arrived within 20 minutes, face grim. This went to 3 board members and legal. Someone's setting me up, Kalani said quietly. Ryunse's eyes went cold. Han, send a statement. Miss Rhodes has my complete trust. Any allegation against her is baseless. Sir, perhaps we should investigate first. No investigation. Send it now. After Han left, Kalani stared at him. You're defending me without even asking if it's true. Did you do it? No. There's nothing to question. He turned to the window. Someone's trying to isolate me. If I can't keep an assistant, it feeds the story that I'm unfit. The other 14, she said slowly. They didn't all quit because of you. Some did. Others, I suspect they were pushed. 2 days before the board meeting, Kalani made a mistake. She was video calling Micah, door unlatched, when Ryunse pushed it open mid-knock and saw her son's face on the screen. Mama, who's that? Micah asked loudly. Ryunse backed out without a word. Kalani ended the call with shaking hands and went to find him, bracing for the worst. You have a son? He asked. He's 9. You've worked here 3 weeks and never mentioned him. I was afraid you'd fire me. Employers don't want single mothers who might need time off. Ryunse was quiet a moment. Where is he while you're here? With a neighbor. I visit when I can. You shouldn't have to hide your child to keep a job. In theory, no. In reality, yes. Are you firing me? She asked. No. He looked at her steadily. You're a good mother. Everything you've done here has been calculated to give him a better life. That's what good parents do. The compliment caught her off guard more than any threat had. The photograph arrived on a Tuesday morning, slid under Kalani's door while she slept. Micah, walking home from school with Mrs. Ademi. Nothing violent, just a picture. We know about your son and we know where he goes. Her hand shook as she called Mrs. Ademi. Someone photographed him. Please, don't let him walk anywhere alone. She should have gone straight to Ryunse. Instead, she sat frozen until Han knocked, saying he was wanted in the office. Someone leaked merger details to the press, Ryunse said, not yet looking up. The missing pages, timing matches. You're pale. His expression went arctic. This is a threat. Someone's been following him for at least a week. He was already dialing. Han, private security on Miss Rhodes' son now. I don't care what it costs. You don't have to. Non-negotiable. If someone's threatening your child to get to me, protecting him is my responsibility. This isn't your fault. It's entirely my fault. His jaw was tight with fury that wasn't aimed at her. Threatening a child crosses a line I won't allow. A week later, Kalani found a folder in the back of a drawer. Private investigation, Kalani Rhodes. Inside, her financial history, her work record, details about Micah's father. Weeks-old reports. Weeks Ryunse had known about the threats and said nothing about this. She carried the folder straight to his office, interrupting a call. You've been investigating me. Yes, for weeks. While telling me you trusted me. I do trust you. Someone is targeting you because of me. I needed to know if there was anything in your past that could be used against you. You could have asked me. Would you have told me everything? About the debts, the 3 jobs, the father who left? That's not the point. You went behind my back. You hid your son for 3 weeks. I kept secrets to protect myself. You kept secrets while holding all the power in this. This isn't a relationship. You're my employee. The words landed like a slap. You're right, Kalani said quietly, and employees can resign. She walked out, already packing, before she reached her room. The housekeeper found her mood pack. You're really leaving? Because he investigated you? Or because your feelings got involved? Kalani had no answer for that. He's terrible at emotions, the housekeeper said. He shows care through protection, not words. That investigation wasn't about distrust. It was the only way he knows how to keep someone safe. The next morning, Kalani went to discuss the transition. Ryunse looked like he hadn't slept. I don't want new candidates, he said. I need you. You need someone you trust. I trust you completely, and why the investigation? Because everyone I've ever trusted left or betrayed me. My cousin wants me removed. The woman I almost married left 3 weeks after my accident. He exhaled. Trust is complicated for me. You stayed when everyone else ran. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't tell you about Micah because I was afraid, Kalani admitted. I thought showing weakness meant losing everything. We're both terrible at trust. Terrible together, she said, almost smiling. So stay, not as my employee, as someone I've gotten used to seeing every morning. Before she could answer, Han burst in. Sir, we found him, the one behind the sabotage. The evidence was damning. Director Cho had orchestrated everything. The leaked documents, the anonymous emails, even hiring someone to photograph Micah, all funded quietly by Ryunse's cousin. The emergency board meeting was packed. Kalani sat beside Ryunse with her laptop documentation ready. We're here to address corporate sabotage, Ryunse began. 14 assistants in 6 months, all driven out by threats and intimidation. Miss Rhodes will present the evidence. She walked the board through it, emails, financial transfers, security footage, each piece tracing back to Cho and the cousin's offshore accounts. There's more, Ryunse said. Director Cho hired someone to surveil my assistant's 9-year-old son. This wasn't strategy. It was targeting a child. The room erupted. Cho stammered excuses. Cousin tried composure and failed. These payments from your personal accounts to Cho's holdings say otherwise, Ryunse, sliding the printout across the table. After 3 hours of testimony, the board voted. Cho was terminated and charged. The cousin was removed from every position. Family is forever, the cousin spat on his way out. This isn't finished. It is. In the car back, exhaustion gave way to something quieter. We did it, Kalani said. You did it. Your documentation made the case. We make a good team, Ryunse turned to her. About wanting you to stay, not just as my assistant. Her heart stumbled. What do you mean? I've fallen for you, Kalani. I think I have been for weeks. I just didn't know how to say it. She reached for his hand before she could talk herself out of it. It's not one-sided. You scare me, she admitted. Caring about you means risking getting hurt, and I've spent years protecting Micah and myself from that. I can't promise I won't hurt you, but I can promise I'll try every day. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. When they broke apart, both were smiling. So, he said, does this mean you're not quitting? I'm definitely not quitting. 1 year later, Kalani stood in the garden watching Micah chase a soccer ball across the grass, laughing. Ryunse wheeled up beside her, steadier now, a cane resting across his lap. He's grown so much. He'll be 10 next month. I need to ask you something. He nodded toward the fountain where Micah was already waiting, grinning like he knew a secret. Using the cane, Ryunse rose to stand. Micah, I love your mother. I love you too. Is it okay if I marry her? Micah pretended to think. Will you still teach me wheelies? When you're older, yes. Then yes. Ryunse turned to Kalani, lowering himself carefully to one knee. You refused to quit on me when everyone else ran. Marry me? Yes, she said. Yes, always. The job nobody could survive had become the beginning of her forever. She wasn't quitting. Not now. Not ever. If you believe love can find you even in your darkest chapter, type amen in the comments and stay, because tomorrow's story might be the one that heals you.